My guest is one of Hong Kong's most powerful and influential politicians, Bernard Chan. How much autonomy does Hong Kong really enjoy? And what does the situation here tell us about the direction in which China as a whole is moving? Bernard Chan in Hong Kong, welcome to Hard Talk.
Thank you.
Any attempt to endanger China's sovereignty and security, challenge the power of the central government and the authority of the basic law, or use Hong Kong to carry out infiltration and sabotage activities against the mainland is an act that crosses the red line.
Indeed.
What is that red line?
Well, indeed, the red line is Hong Kong is still very much part of China. See, the thing about Hong Kong is we are the two systems within the one country. So the red line clearly is you cannot ever mention the separation of China,
Sounds
Hong
like
Kong.
a threat, though, doesn't it? Don't cross the red line.
Well,
I
think he's basically reminding some very small part of Hong Kong that actually have this illusion that Hong Kong can be. I mean, Hong Kong is a full autonomy. We have high degree of autonomy, but doesn't mean that there is any hope of a separation from China. So I think that is basically a reminder to a small part of Hong Kong that may have that illusion.
Small part?
Well, you know what? A lot of people, a lot of the younger people, they may not have the experience of understanding the changeover. Hong Kong returned to China now for 21 years. So for many that's born after that, may not have this appreciation.
He's threatening the pro-independence
activists,
people like Andy Chan and his National Party, which was banned from standing in any elections. Agnes Chow, a young pro-democracy activist who wanted to stand in a by-election last year, she was also not allowed.
You know what? I certainly would agree that those individuals that you just mentioned, they don't represent Hong Kong. The rest of Hong Kong people, we very much feel that we are part of China. However,
but they represent a minority, however small
absolutely,
that minority
they're a minority.
might be.
But however, this minority cannot be completely ignored, because if you ignore them, this small minority become increasingly might feel that this can be doable, which is not. I mean, Hong Kong can never be an independent part of China.
That may be the case. Harry Lam, the chief executive, whom you advise, has said Hong Kong, our home, is suffering from quite a lot of divisiveness. She said that at the time of her election 2 years ago. Even she accepts that there is this divided opinion in Hong Kong. You can't brush it under the carpet.
Well, we don't.
You've got to do
but I have to remind
it.
you, though, majority of the rest of Hong Kong people, they are we have better worries than about independence, Hong Kong independence. Again, as I keep repeating, that's a very small part of Hong Kong. The bigger part of Hong Kong, we worry about our future. Are we going to continue to be prosperous? Are we worried about being marginalized with what's happening in the rest of the world and vis-a-vis China? Those are the bigger issues that we are facing. Of housing affordability. We have tons of other topics that we need to pay much more attention than talking about independence of Hong Kong, which is a non-starter. So that's why I kept saying, for the international audience, maybe they feel this is the burning issue, but they are not for Hong Kong people.
Not everybody who is a pro-democracy activist necessarily advocates independence. The two things are separate. Is that the case? Because, I mean, you work in business, you come from a family who've been involved in insurance and banking, you sit on the boards of both Chinese and foreign companies. And I put this to you, Charles Mock, a former IT executive who represents the IT sector in the Legislative Council, said at the end of last year, previously when I went abroad to promote investment, people asked me whether they could make money, but now they are asking me about freedom of expression and rule of law related problems.
Well, I totally agree. When I go abroad,
that's the point.
First question.
Investors are concerned.
And you know why they ask that question? Because all the news they got is always about issues with this one country problem, like independence and whether reporters are allowed to report. All they hear about is that. They don't see what's happening day to day in Hong Kong lives, where business is thriving and people continue to invest and using the advantage of that system.
The point I was
because they only got to hear from the international media all the things relating to the politics.
That's your answer to that, but the point I was making,
which is true.
Okay, I'll put you a very informed opinion then.